Before the sun fully rises, Saigon is already awake. The first pots of broth start to simmer. The sound of sweeping sidewalks mixes with the distant hum of motorbikes warming their engines. By 6 a.m. the streets are alive. Workers head to their jobs. Students in white uniforms ride past in groups. Saigon does not wake up suddenly, it builds momentum. From quiet alleyways to major boulevards, the city moves with purpose. And in these early hours, before the heat, you can begin to understand its rhythm. This is Saigon, not just a city of noise and motion, but a place where daily life begins long before most visitors open their eyes. Today, we take time to observe it properly. As the city settles into its rhythm, the main streets begin to fill. Walking through the center of Saigon, it's impossible not to notice how history stands openly on display. Some of the city's most recognizable landmarks are concentrated within just a few blocks. The Saigon Post Office was completed in 1891, during the period when Vietnam was part of French Indochina. At that time, Saigon was an important administrative center for the French colonial government, and buildings like this were designed to reflect European architectural style and influence. From the outside, the structure immediately stands out with its yellow facade, green shutters, and symmetrical design. The large central clock above the entrance has watched over this street for more than a century. Inside, the atmosphere feels surprisingly grand for a post office. The long hall is covered by a high vaulted ceiling supported by iron arches, a design inspired by European railway stations of the 19th century. One of the most recognizable features inside is the large portrait of Ho Chi Minh displayed at the far end of the hall, a reminder of how the country's history has evolved since the colonial era when the building was first constructed. Just across the street from the post office stands another landmark that has watched Saigon change for more than a century, the Notre-Dame Cathedral Basilica of Saigon. Construction of the cathedral began in 1863, not long after the French established control over southern Vietnam. At that time, the colonial government wanted to build a major Catholic church that would serve both the French community and local converts. The cathedral was completed in 1880 and quickly became one of the most prominent buildings in the city. In front of the cathedral stands a statue of the Virgin Mary, which was installed in 1959. In 2005, the statue drew widespread attention when many people believed they saw tears forming on its face. Thousands gathered here during those days, although the church later stated that there was no confirmed miracle. Today, the cathedral remains one of Saigon's most photographed landmarks. But beyond the photographs, it represents an important chapter of the city's past, a reminder of the colonial era, the spread of Christianity in Vietnam, and the long history that continues to shape Saigon today. Just a short walk from the colonial buildings of downtown Saigon stands another landmark that represents a very different chapter in the city's history, the Independence Palace, also known today as the Reunification Palace. The original structure on this site was built by the French in the late 19th century and was known as Notre-Dame Palace. It served as the residence of the French colonial governor of Cochinchina. However, that building did not survive into modern times. In 1962, two South Vietnamese pilots bombed the palace during an attempted coup against President Ngo-Dinh. The building was badly damaged and later demolished. A new palace was then constructed on the same site and completed in 1966. It became the official residence and workplace of the President of South Vietnam during the final years of the Vietnam War. But the palace is remembered most for the events of April 30, 1975. On that morning, tanks from the North Vietnamese army broke through the palace gates, marking the fall of Saigon and the end of the Vietnam War. Images of the tanks entering the grounds quickly spread across the world and became one of the most iconic moments of the conflict. Today, much of the palace has been preserved almost exactly as it was at that time. Inside, visitors can walk through the presidential offices and meeting rooms. Walking through the building feels less like visiting a museum and more like stepping into a moment that has been carefully frozen in time. Another elegant reminder of Saigon's colonial past stands along Dong Quai Street, the Saigon Opera House, officially known today as the Municipal Theatre. The building was completed in 1897 during the French colonial period, when Saigon was being developed with wide boulevards and European-style public buildings. The design was inspired by the famous opera houses of Paris, particularly the Palais Garnier. Decorative sculptures, arched windows, and ornate reliefs were added to give the building a distinctly European appearance. But like many buildings in the city, its role changed several times throughout history. During the 20th century, the building was used for different purposes, including serving as the home of the National Assembly of South Vietnam for a period of time. Only in the late 1990s was the structure fully restored and returned to its original purpose as a theater. Today, the Saigon Opera House hosts concerts, cultural performances, and traditional Vietnamese shows. From these grand colonial buildings, Saigon might appear carefully planned and orderly. But the city quickly changes as you walk just a few streets away. Not far from the cathedral is a quieter and more relaxed place known as Nguyen Van Binh Book Street. This pedestrian street is lined with small bookstores, cafes, and shaded seating areas. It's a peaceful corner of the city where students browse through books, families bring their children, and locals take a break from the constant movement of downtown traffic. In a city known for its noise and energy, places like this offer a moment to slow down. But once you leave the calm of Book Street and return to the surrounding streets, another important part of Saigon quickly becomes impossible to ignore: the food. Saigon is often described as one of the great food cities of Southeast Asia. And the variety here reflects the diversity of the city itself. On one corner, a street vendor prepares a simple bowl of pho on a small metal stove. Just a few meters away, modern restaurants serve carefully prepared dishes in elegant dining rooms. From small family stalls that have been operating for decades to international restaurants and fine dining establishments, Saigon offers something for almost every taste and budget. As the sun sets, Saigon begins to transform once again. The heat of the day slowly fades, but the streets remain full of life. People gather outside restaurants, scooters continue to move through the intersections, and the smell of food drifts through the evening air. One of the places where this energy becomes most visible is the Ben Ton Night Market. As night arrives, vendors set up their stalls and rows of small food stands begin to glow under bright lights. Grilled seafood, noodles, and Vietnamese street snacks are prepared just steps away from where people sit and eat. Plastic tables quickly fill with both locals and visitors, sharing simple meals and enjoying the cooler hours after a long day. Places like this capture something essential about Saigon. During the day the city moves fast, crowded streets, constant traffic, endless activity. But in the evening, the rhythm softens. People take their time, conversations last longer, and the city feels a little more relaxed. Saigon is a place that reveals itself gradually, not only through famous landmarks or busy markets, but through everyday moments: morning coffee on the sidewalk, quiet alleyways behind the main roads, and evenings like this, when the city slows down just enough to be observed. And as the lights glow across the streets tonight, Saigon continues moving in its own rhythm. Because here, the city never truly stops, it simply changes its pace. And somewhere in these streets tonight, Saigon is already preparing for another new day.